Midnight, Chapter 7. Brambleclaw emerged warily from the undergrowth at the edge of the trees above the river bank, tasting the air for the scent of cats. The traces of ThunderClan were all stale, though fresher RiverClan scents drifted across from the other side of the river. Hoping that no cat from either clan would see him, Brambleclaw slipped swiftly down the bank to the water's edge. Brown water churned along past his paws. More rain had fallen during the day, though the clouds were thinning now, to let pale sunshine through, so that the forest steamed. The river was swollen, half submerging the stepping stones, and Brambleclaw had to brace himself before he dared leap out onto the first of them. He was on his way to visit Feathertail and Stormfur. All day he had been thinking about the second dream, becoming more and more convinced that they had to travel to the Sundrown place before they could learn what StarClan had to tell them. The dream had been too real to ignore. He could still taste the salt in his mouth, and flinched as droplets splashed against his nose from the stepping stone, expecting the same sharp tang. And they ought to leave at once. His fur prickled with a strange sense of urgency, warning him that there was no time to waste until the next gathering. If the other chosen cats had also had the dream, they shouldn't be hard to persuade. He still had not told Squirrelpaw about the second dream. Although he felt guilty that he was not keeping his promise, he was well aware that if she knew about the journey he was planning, she would want to come along too. And what would Farstar think if Brambleclaw dragged his daughter off into the unknown? Water lapped cold around his paws as Brambleclaw landed on the first stone and crouched, ready for his leap to the next. Before he pushed off, he scanned the far bank again. Although there was a friendship now between ThunderClan and RiverClan, he was not sure of his welcome if he trespassed uninvited on their territory. He would prefer to find Feathertail and Stormfur before any other cats knew he was there. He managed to reach the next stone, and the one after that, shivering as cold water splashed up onto his fur. The next stepping stone had vanished completely, with only a ripple of water flowing over it to tell him where it was. Keeping his gaze fixed on the spot, he leaped, but as he landed his paws slipped off the edge, and he found himself splashing into the river. He let out a yowl of alarm as his head went under. Terror surged over him as he was plunged into bottomless, blue-green waves like that of his dream. Clawing his way upwards, he surfaced to see reeds instead of sand-coloured cliffs, and grey-brown water running in ripples, not waves. The current was carrying him close to the opposite bank, and Brambleclaw struck out, kicking strongly across the flow of the water. To his relief, his paws scraped on pebbles. A heartbeat later he managed to stand up and flounder into the shallows. Panting, he hauled himself onto the bank, and shook himself vigorously. Suddenly fresh, RiverClan scent washed into his nostrils, and he dived straight into a clump of bracken and peered out between the fronds. A moment later he murmured thanks to StarClan as Feathertail and Stormfur, the two cats he wanted to see, appeared farther along the river bank. Brambleclaw plunged out of the bracken and stood shivering in front of them. "Hi," he mewed. "Great StarClan!" Stormfur looked up at him up and down. "Have you been for a swim?" "I fell off the stepping stones. Feathertail, can I have a word with you?"
"Of course. Are you sure you're all right?"
"Yes, I'm fine. Feathertail, have you had another dream?" The grey she-cat looked puzzled.
"No. Why? Have you?"
"Yes." Settling into the grass so they could talk more comfortably, Brambleclaw told them quickly about the Sundrown place and the cave with teeth, feeling his fur bristle with fear again. "I spoke to Ravenpaw this morning. You know, the loner who lives near Highstones. He says the Sundrown place is real, and he told me that StarClan's prophecies are always vague. We need faith and courage of warriors to understand them, and to trust what StarClan wants us to do is right." "Which is what?" Stormfur queried. I think we should go to the Sundrown place," Brambleclaw replied, his belly churning with tension. "That's where StarClan will tell us what we need to know." Feathertail had listened in silence, her blue gaze fixed on his face. When he stopped speaking, she nodded slowly.
"I think you're right."
"What?" Stormfur sprang to his paws. "Are you mad? You don't even know where this place is." Feathertail flicked him with her tail.
"No, but StarClan will guide us."
Brambleclaw waited tensely. If Stormfur refused to agree, he might tell Leopardstar what was going on, and the clan could stop Feathertail from leaving with him. The grey warrior paced along the back and forth, his tail flushed up in agitation. "Faith and courage. We'll certainly need those if we went to this place," he murmured. I'm still not convinced that you're right, mind you, he added, wryly to Brambleclaw. But if you're not, maybe Starclan will send another sign to turn us back. Feathertail's blue eyes glowed. Does that mean you'll come with us? Try to stop me, her brother meowed grimly. He swung round to face Brambleclaw. I know I've not had any dreams, but an extra warrior could be useful. You're right. Brambleclaw was so relieved to have won their agreement that he did not try to argue. Thank you, both of you. So, when do we leave? Stormfur mewed. I thought the day before half moon, Brambleclaw suggested. That should give us enough time to talk to the others. Rising to his paws, he padded down to the water's edge. The sun was going down, red behind bars of dark cloud. A breeze ruffled his fur, drying him, and he shivered again, less from cold, more from the thought of the path they had to travel. I know Tawnypelt will come if I ask her, he meowed. But what about Crowpaw? He'd rather eat fox-dung than go with a journey with us. But if all the cats Starclan have chosen don't go, we might fail the prophecy.
Crowpaw will understand,
Feathertail tried to reassure him, though Brambleclaw wished he had her confidence. We'll help you persuade him, Stormfur offered. He comes down to the river to drink every day, about sunset. It's too late now, so why don't we meet there tomorrow and talk to him together? Okay, Brambleclaw blinked his gratitude. Somehow the prophecy seemed to weigh less heavy when he was sharing it with friends. Provided he comes, after this rain. Winkland should have water of their own now, remember?
If he doesn't come, mewed Feathertail, sounding determined, we'll just have to think of something else. More rain fell during the night. Winkland's moorland streams would be flowing again without a doubt, making Brambleclaw more anxious than ever that the Winkland apprentice would not come into RiverClan territory to drink. He was restless all day. Cloudtail, on hunting patrol with him, and Dustpelt, kept asking him if he had ants in his fur. When the fresh kill pile had been restocked, Brambleclaw managed to slip out of camp again on his own. He especially wanted to avoid Squirrelpaw, who was bound to ask him where he was going. The sun was sinking by the time he reached the border with RiverClan, in sight of the two-leg bridge. It wasn't long before he saw the two RiverClan warriors climbing the river bank and scooting over the bridge with their heads low. Stormfur beckoned him with his tail, and Brambleclaw raced across the border to meet him and Feathertail at the rear end of the bridge. Better hide, Stormfur meowed. We don't know how many Winkland cats will come, and you're not supposed to be here. Brambleclaw nodded. The three cats crept into the shelter of a thorn bush, near the place where Winkland's cat came to drink. Just below their hiding place, the river raced noisily past, its brown water flecked with foam as it poured out of the gorge. They did not have to wait long before Brambleclaw caught a strong Winkland scent, and a group of cats appeared from the direction of Four Trees. The clan leader, Toolstar, came first, followed by One Whisker and a ginger warrior Brambleclaw didn't recognise. Other cats came with them, and Brambleclaw's heart began to race uncomfortably when he spotted Crowpaw among them with his mentor, Mudclaw. The Winkland cats padded down the slope to the river bank and crouched at the water's edge to drink. Frustrated, Brambleclaw saw that Crowpaw stayed in the middle of the group, too far away to call him without other cats hearing. I'll have to go and fetch him, Feathertail murmured. She slipped out from underneath the bush and headed towards the river. Brambleclaw watched her greet the Winkland cats, stopping to speak briefly with Morningflower, one of the Winkland elders. Their exchange was polite, though not friendly. Brambleclaw wondered how long it was that the clan's uneasy alliance over the water would last, if Winkland went on coming to drink now that the drought was over. Soon Feathertail went to crouch beside Crowpaw at the water's edge. Brambleclaw dug his